Hi, welcome to the SDP. I'm Kevin, the happy hipster.
僕はイチゴ、アニメの共同ホストだ。綺麗のメガネ、ケビン君。
Ah, you're just saying that.
君は美少年、美少女を感動しようとしてるか?
No, I was sort of banking on the hipster look to catch on. But now that I mention it, I would like to bring up another of my teenage heartthrobs. But first, it's exposition time!
再び言えない。
Right. For today's episode, we are going to talk about genies. A genie, or jinn, is a creature fantasized about in Islamic mythology. The common thread among interpretations of genies is that, well, they are spirits. They were mentioned in the Quran of all places as sentient beings made by God from smokeless fire. But throughout the past millennium or so, writers started putting their own twists on the idea. One of the most enduring concepts was popularized by the story of Aladdin, in which a genie is imprisoned in a lamp, bottle, or other vessel between bouts of granting wishes for whomever controls their infinite powers at the moment. Since then, we've had male, female, non-human genies, good, evil, or simply literal genies, genies with human legs or smoke tails, genies encased in lamps, bottles, rings, or jewels. Suddenly, the idea of a vampire's skin sparkles in contact with sunlight instead of dying doesn't sound so far-fetched. I'm just saying. If you're from my generation, chances are you're also familiar with the 1992 Disney version of Aladdin. This film codified the saga once more with such memorable characters as Robin Williams as Genie and Princess Jasmine. You're welcome. But I'm not here to talk about Aladdin. Rather, I ask you, what would you get if you crossed those two characters I just mentioned? You would have Shantae, star of her eponymous Game Boy Color game, and that is the subject of this week's review.
Shantae is a half-genie, employed as the protector of Scuttletown. In the opening cutscene, her town gets besieged by the crew of Lady Pirate Risky Boots, who makes off with a steam engine. In order to make it work, she requires the 4 stones imbued with the spirits of water, earth, fire, and ice. So Shantae must acquire them from the 4 dungeons in order to keep them from her.
Good luck with that. You know what? Shantae is a really awesome heroine, and not just for the obvious reasons.
Seriously, despite her handicap of half-genie heritage instead of being a full genie, Shantae strives her hardest to protect Scuttletown. Her primary method of attack is whipping her hair at enemies, and yet she never gets dizzy from it all.
Uh-oh, I feel an incredibly obvious gag coming along. That's enough of that. Moving on.
Shantae is, at its core, one of those Metroidvania-style platformers, where the game takes place in one large world but sections are blocked off until you acquire certain abilities. In the case of this game, you explore the dungeon levels and uncover the secret to these abilities, namely, transformations such as a monkey for climbing up cliffs, an elephant for breaking rocks, a spider for climbing walls in the background, and a harpy for flying. And since our hero is a genie girl, these are triggered through belly dances. Press select to toggle the dance mode on and off, and perform 6 different moves with the control pad, A, or B buttons. In practice, this works out like playing the ocarina from some of the Legend of Zelda games, only demanding tighter timing. There are only 5 dungeon levels apart from the overworld, but each one throws a little something special at you. For example, Cackle Mound has areas where you can hide in the shadows where enemies can't touch you. And in Golem Mine, there are certain spots which magnetize you and color your character red or blue, and you'll have to exploit this in order to solve certain puzzles. Following the Metroidvania formula does lend itself to some problems, namely backtracking. I'll tell you one thing, when I was recording footage for this review, I wasted so much time and DVD space logging all that excess travel. If you want to alleviate some of the frustration, you can collect baby warp squids in the dungeons and trade them to learn transport dances. Also in the towns, you can purchase items from stores. There are projectile items such as fireballs, pike balls, storm puffs, and support items like health potions, vanish cream, and twin mints, which temporarily let you deal double damage. In order to trigger them, press up and B together, like in the original Castlevania trilogy. Speaking of Castlevania, every couple of minutes the endgame clock switches from day to night or vice versa, and enemies have double defense during the nights. As if it weren't bad enough that there are precious few enemies that go down after only one hit, Rather, there are numerous varieties that can withstand as many as 5 hits during the day. That means when night falls, it'll take 10 hits to bring those down. What a terrible night to have a curse indeed. You can collect heart holders to increase your maximum HP, but if you die and respawn, you start out with only 3 hearts filled. Mate ya. Zelda no densetsu wa sore o shinai ya ne? Yeah, but that doesn't mean I liked it.
I like the game, just not the life thing. Back on point, if this game wore a shirt, it would show its classic style difficulty on its sleeves. And if that's too much for you to handle, I don't have anything to say to you, Irate Gamer.
Which is a shame because you'd be missing out on a wonderful universe. The animation is the best I've seen on any 8-bit platform. Even Shantae's standing animation is quite bouncy, both in the chest and otherwise. The environment designs utilize a vivid color palette, and coming out only months after 9/11, it's a nice change of pace to see the brighter side of Arabian culture used as an inspiration. It's easy to see from all this that Shantae was a labor of love, and it's a shame it didn't get the recognition it deserved. In the decade after Shantae's release, its star character has become an unofficial mascot for its developer, WayForward Technologies, and the girl herself instantly became one of my teen-era sex symbols.
So why didn't I pick the game up on day one? Well, the best reason I can think of is the delayed release. The game was first reviewed in the February 2002 issue of Nintendo Power, but it didn't get released until June that same year, and by that time I'd forgotten about the game.
Shoujo wa dodeka?
As if. Still, failing to pick up the game when it was on shelves is one of my life's greatest failures. Finally caught up with the game in 2008, buying it cartridge only for about $40 US. Guess how much it's going for these days? A minimum of $150. Yeah, I just broke you. Not helping matters was the unusual amount of sex appeal for an otherwise kid-friendly title, which, as you recall, I fell victim to. Whilst the level of violence was tame enough for an E rating in North America, picture this. All 4 named female characters, the hero Shantae, the villain Risky Boots, the Falconer Sky, and the zombie Roddy Tops, wear outfits that bear their midriffs. Plus, there are some types of monsters who are full-on topless. You know, for kids! To be fair, the Game Boy Color screen doesn't show that much detail, and there is a balance between the character's sexy cute and adorable cute appeals. Plus, I've read reports that the character was first conceived by a woman. Besides, the most likely cause of Shantae's failure was because it was made for the Game Boy Color, a system which in 2002 was being phased out in favor of the Game Boy Advance. Heck, its final title will be released less than half a year later, so I can understand Capcom for the lack of promotion. And to think that's nowhere near as dastardly as their actions as of late. I'm just saying.
As such, it proved difficult for WayForward to generate a sequel. They've had several false starts throughout the rest of the decade, but come 2010, they finally managed to cut out the middleman and self-publish Shantae, Risky's Revenge as a download title for the Nintendo DSi, followed by a port for iOS devices the following year. Even better, a third game has been announced to resolve the second game's cliffhanger ending, and rumors persist that the original game will be resubmitted to the 3DS Virtual Console shop. I do hope that this will come to fruition so that a new generation of gamers might be able to experience Shantae without breaking the bank. Because it's worth playing, it's just not worth spending 3 figures on. Shantae scores 90%, an A-.
This is Kevin, with Ichigo, and you are the Resistance. I don't always ask for subscribers, but when I do, I take a wish from her any day. Stay thirsty, my friends.